All right, so where we kind of left off on is I made some changes to our module fields. So let's go to pages. We added this new option so you can select which column the field is going to be in. So for example, when you go to edit or create a page, you have the left column fields and you have the right column fields. And so after making this change, I realized that it broke the options for certain field types. So if we go to the status field, for example, so it's a select drop down, and I think before what I did was I had the options saved as just a JSON array. So let's see if I can find, I think it's one of these, yes. I know, module fields. So module fields, let's see here. Yeah, so we have all the fields saved here, and so we have the name, we have the type, and then we have the options. And so before I was just saving the options as like a list, but now we're actually using the options for the field options. So for example, if we look here, I think I was testing fields. Let's just add a new one. For example, address. It has certain field options that apply just to the address, and so that's where we're saving it. But so now we're using this field for the field option. So we have to actually create a new way to save the options that are going to be like for the select dropdown, like the option values that show up. So so that's what we're going to be working on. So I have the sample pages module, and in there we have this status. And so the idea here is going to be that there'll be a status for publish, a status for draft, and then depending on that, that's how the page is going to be. That's what we're going to toggle the visibility of the page. So right now it's empty because that's broken, but we need a way to be able to define those options for those drop downs. So if we look here, if we go to our module editor and then go to our pages, edit fields, go to status. So this is where we're going to have the options. And so I've decided that there's going to be a few ways that we're going to pull options. So one is going to be that we're going to manually enter in options. So with this, we'll just have a way where the user can just type in their options. Another way would be to dynamically pull options from another model. And then we'll have this other way, and this will allow them to pull options from some kind of data provider. So let's say you want like a drop down of all countries or a drop down of all states. It'll be an easy way for you to just pull that in without having to manually enter in all of those options. So for now, we're going to focus on this manually enter in options option here. And so for now, we set up the radio buttons. And what we want to do is, when this is selected, we'll have some kind of UI here where users can enter in all the option values. So I'm thinking what I'll do is I'll probably create a very simple view component for that, because right now it'll probably be a temporary thing, because all of this I'm just kind of trying to scaffold it out. It's not going to stay this way. We're going to have like a better UI editor for it, but for now I just kind of want to scope out the data model And so I'm thinking I'll just create a temporary view component that'll have a way to define those options, and then we'll be able to easily save them. So I think what I'll do is I'll create, for now I'll create a new card. I'm using Bootstrap 4 here. So I'll just create a new card to hold these option values here. So we'll do card header, card body. And then, so right now we need to set up a way to pull in view components, because I don't have that set up right now. And I'm thinking the easiest way to do that would be just to probably just to pull in the view as a library. I don't want to go through a bunch of configuration right now. So I want to see here what the easiest way that Vue provides to pull in to pull Vue into your project. So we're just going to go ahead and do Vue 2.x for now. I haven't even seen what Vue 3 has. All right, so it looks like we can. So we'll probably pull that in. And that's a development version. I think that'll be fine for now as we're working on this. And then let's see here. Yeah, actually, I think I just forgot we're using Laravel, so we can actually create components with Laravel. So let's see here. So Vue Laravel. Okay. So I think what we'll do is we'll do so resources.js. We'll create a new directory here for components. This is kind of what I've done in past projects. Components, is that correct? Components, and then we'll create a new file for our form field option values. We'll just call them form field view. I might change that name to something better in the future, but for now this should be fine. So I'm just going to create a template here. Hello form field option values. Just kind of want to make sure that it's working. And then in our Webpack file, we're going to have to compile it. So it's been a while since I've done this, so I think I'll have to look up the documentation. Hey Peter, nice to have you. What is that called? I forget what it's called. Mix, Laravel mix. Yeah, front end running mix. I think for Vue, is it just JS? Let's try it. Actually, no. Right. So we have the app .js, so we have to require the Vue files. Let me just search it up real quick. Laravel require Vue files. Actually, let me just reference one of my other projects. It's one of those things where you kind of just set it up and you kind of forget about it. So you kind of have to look it up. let's see your assets, JS, app.js. So I think, okay, so we might have to import window echo. So does view get included by default? I don't think it does. Yeah, Peter. Yeah, Vue has been great. I've enjoyed working with it. I like it because you can kind of sprinkle it in. You don't have to like have your Vue kind of take over your whole application. But yeah, it's been a while since I've set this up. It's kind of one of those things you set it up, you forget about it. So let's see here. Okay, so I think, I guess with Laravel's newer versions, they use the Laravel UI package. So let us try, let me see, what version are we on? Okay, so we're on 8. So I just want to pull up documentation for 8. Oh, it doesn't have. I've actually been working with 7 for so long. I think I've just recently switched to 8 that I'm not too familiar with how things are set up in 8, but I don't think it should be there should be too many differences with it. Alright, I'm just going to try this. I'm going to do composer require Laravel UI. Yeah, so I think we can install Laravel UI package, and then from that we'll be able to have the UI scaffold out the Vue stuff for us. We probably don't need all the login registration stuff, so just the basics. So it looks like Laravel Breeze is something new. But I wonder if Laravel Breeze is just for authentication, or mostly if you want authentication controllers and views. I don't want to pull all that stuff in right now, so I think I'll just use Laravel Breeze since it actually does work with the latest versions of Laravel. And in the future, if we need to swap it out, I think it shouldn't be a problem. For now, my goal is to just kind of get Vue set up just so we can get a Vue component going. So I'm just going to wait for this to update the dependencies. Usually takes a minute. Ran out of memory with Composer. You know what? I think I had to downgrade Composer for one of my older projects. Let me upgrade it to, and then the upgrade or the install should be quicker with version 2. It's kind of all the configuration that you have to go through in order to just set up something simple. Let's do --2. All right. So Composer, require Laravel UI. All right, so much quicker. I love Composer too. All right, and then I believe, what was the command? It was PHP Artisan UI view. UI view. All right, so we'll do npm install, because I believe that'll put in the dependencies. Yep. So it looks like we got, yep, we got view in there, and then yes, okay. So it also pulls in view for us in our app. All right, yeah, this is what I was looking for. So we needed a way to pull in components, the view components. So once this is installed, we should be able to pull in our new component. So I'm gonna go ahead and delete this example. Yeah, just delete that example component. So we're gonna call ours form field option values, and then require components dot form field option values. All right, and then I believe we should be able to do npm run watch. Oh, looks like it has to install some additional dependencies. All right, looks like it's compiling. And so let's go ahead and include that component on our page here so we can test it out. So I think we called it form field option values. Yep. Let's go ahead and refresh. Do we need to have our script? All right, I think I forgot. I'm not including the compiled JavaScript yet. So our Webpack, it's compiling our app.js to public.js, but I don't think we're actually including that yet in our views. So let's go ahead and update our template. Okay, so this is where it might get a little tricky. So I know I'm using admin LTE. Okay, this is where we can include it. Stack.js yield. Okay, so yeah, I'm using admin LTE. It's the dashboard here, and so we actually have to override the main layout here. So I think if we do script, and then source would be mix app/js. Is that what it is? Public, no, js/app.js. All right, let's see if that'll work. So it's getting included, but we're still not seeing our component show up. That looks good. Let me see what this was before. You know what? Let me try the example component. No, actually. Yeah, example component. I'm going to just try this example component just to make sure that our view components are being loaded correctly. Still doesn't look like it. What am I doing wrong? Are we getting a console message? Oh, okay. Oh, right. I should have looked at the console. So view requires that there's a root element that has an ID of app. So we'll update our main template, and I think we should be safe to add it to this wrapper here. But let me just double check where that's at. Yeah, so the wrapper comes right after body. Yeah, so we'll go ahead and just add the ID here. And with any luck, yep, all right, it's working now. Sweet, so we'll go ahead and delete the example component. We can go ahead and swap that out for our real component. And if we refresh, yep, there we go, it's now loading. All right, so now that we have that working, let me go ahead and close all the other tabs. And what we want to do, well, I'm going to delete that example component because we don't need it. So what we want to do is we want to kind of create a very simple way to just add a list of items, pretty much. So there'll be like a text input, and then you'll have a way to add as many texts as you want, and then remove them. And then I think we'll also kind of want to sort it, but first we'll just kind of add a way to add and remove, and then eventually we'll add a way to sort it. So I think what I'll do first is just kind of scaffold out the HTML for it, just to kind of see what it'll look like. And so I think what we'll have is we'll have a div for each of the values. We'll have an input, a text input, and then we'll have a little button to remove. Type is equal to button. Yeah, so something like this is probably more like an X. And then at the bottom, I think we can add another button to add new items. So we'll do button, type is equal to button, just do plus add. So as you click this, it'll add a new option here. So we're gonna need to hold these items in the data. So I think what we'll do for now is we'll just create a very simple data object, and we'll just have we'll just call items, and this will be an array. And so here what we can do is we can do v for item and items. So for each item in the items, we're going to iterate through there and render this little component. So right now our items are empty, but let's go ahead and add something. So let's say, I don't know, item 1, item 2, item 3. So we should be able to see 3. There we go. And of course we want to bind the value to the item. Okay, so it looks like we can't do that. All right, so what we'll do is each item will be an object, actually. And so we'll have, let's just call it name, item 1, item 2, item 3. And we're going to bind it to the item.name. Yep, there we go. So now that we have those items, we can we can also link up this button. So when we click this button, what we want to do is we want to add a new item to the list. And so at click is equal to, we'll just call the method add for now. Since this is a very simple component, I'm not too crazy about naming these in like a very specific way. Because it's self-contained, so it doesn't really matter that they're named too concretely. So for add, what we'll do is we'll do this dot items dot push, and we're just going to push a new item into that array with an empty name. So let's go ahead and test that out. Yep, there we go. And then we also want to do something where we can remove certain items. So at click, we want to remove, and then what we'll do is we'll pass the item to that method. So then now we can add a new method here for remove item. And what I usually do in this case is if it's a simple array, we can use the splice functionality. So this.items.splice, and we need the index of the items. So I usually do this.items.index of item and then 1. I believe that should work. Let's try it out. Yep, there we go. So we're able to remove all those items, add some new ones, remove them. It seems to all work correctly. All right, so that's good for a very simple component. And yeah, so I think we also want to add sorting. So I think the user should be able to sort these in any way that we want. I'm trying to think if we want to do that now or if we want to set up the saving functionality. I think since we're here, we'll go ahead and implement that. So when I'm using Vue, I usually use the Vue draggable library. This makes it pretty easy to add drag and drop functionality, or even just simple sorting. So we're going to have to go ahead and pull this in. So cancel that. All right, and then go ahead and run, there's the npm run watch again. And then we're gonna have to pull in this library into our component. So import draggable from Vue draggable. And so the way it works is we have to wrap our element where we're iterating over the items. We wrap it in the draggable. Yeah, and then we pass the V model into the or we pass the items into the V model. So pretty easy setup for this functionality. I love how easy it is to set up. So draggable, just wrap that. So V model we equal to items. And I think we also have to set up this key element. That's something I haven't done yet. I'm going to see if it works without it for now, but we will set it up here in a second. So let's see if that works. Yep, so it's dragging. Not really the way we want it to work. I think ideally we want a little icon here, like a little drag and drop icon that when you click, it'll kind of go up and down. So I think, does Bootstrap have icons? Does Bootstrap 4? See if I can just pull up a simple icon. So the way that I'm building this right now is I'm trying not to focus too much on looks, how it looks, like the UI and the display of it. I'm trying to get the core functionality set up first, and then what I want to do is then go back and make it look better and make it function better. Because I think it's easy to kind of get caught up in how things look and kind of miss the main idea or like the main kind of purpose that you're trying to build an app for. And I think by almost ignoring the visuals at first, kind of lets you scope out all the different scenarios that you have to account for. And I think what's important is to kind of get like the data model and the data structure down first. And an easy way to do that is just kind of build it out. So you'll notice that like a lot of my fields right now, or a lot of my forms, are very rudimentary. So when you're going to add fields, like this is our module builder. So pretty much all these fields here, they're set up with our module builder. And so if we go into pages, it doesn't look that great. It's kind of weird that, you have to go to pages, then you have to go to edit fields. So these are all the fields. And then, of course, each field can have like validation rules. And so again, there's just like another button that goes to another CRUD page, and you have to like literally, go one by one. Like if you wanted a required field, if you wanted, other types of fields, you have to go one by one. So of course, this is not very user friendly at all, but the thing is, it's not going to stay this way. My goal right now is just to kind of have some functionality in place, just so I kind of know what I'm working with. And once I kind of see like the bigger picture and all the different kind of things that fall into it, I'll be able to go back and kind of fix all these things up and make it look better. But I'm just kind of in that almost like exploratory stage where we're still kind of trying to figure out, what is this product going to look like? How's this app going to function? So I don't want to go too much into the weeds with how things look. So that's why I'm kind of like trying to find the easiest way to set some of these things up. So what I'm looking for is like a little sort icon. Sort, or drag and drop. Drag, is there a drag icon? Or move? I know there's that one with the 3 bars. This will work. Yeah, let's do this. So let's copy this little icon, and this is going to go before our input. So let's paste that in there. And then try to find where we were at here. Okay, and I think I have a feeling that we have to do something extra in order to get these icons to work. I guess in that case, if I'm having to set up the icons, I might as well just set up Font Awesome. But I wonder if I have it already. Yeah, I do actually. I forgot I pulled it in. Okay, let's just find one on Font Awesome instead. By the way, yeah, and if you guys have any feedback, feel free to, put something in the chat or send me a message or something. I'd appreciate any feedback you guys can give me. Yeah, let's use this grip vertical. I used to use the bars, but I think this grip vertical one is a little more modern looking. Let's go ahead and copy that. And we're going to replace that in our component. All right, perfect. So our goal here is not, we don't want to drag on any of on the input or the buttons. We want it just to drag here on when we're clicking on this icon. So I think there's a way to do that by, right here, by setting the draggable class. So what we will do is we're just going to add a draggable class to our little icon here. And here we'll define that class so it knows which one to use. Nope, that didn't work. Did I do that incorrectly? I think, no, it's not the draggable. We need, it's the handle, I believe it's called. Yeah, handle, that's what it is. I'll just call it a draggable handle. It's still not working. Draggable handle, that's correct. Oh, right, because this is, I have to change the name of that to handle. All right, there we go. So now if we try to click and drag on the item, it won't let us, but if you actually click and drag here, it'll work. So that's good. All right, and then I think we want to remove the initial items. Actually, no, we want just one. Initially, you want to start off with an empty item, just so you can go ahead and start typing the first one, and then you can add more as needed. So I think I'm fairly happy with this for now. I think the only thing I want to just do is fix this key. Key element view kind of requires or wants you to have a key for items or components that you iterate over. So I wonder if we can just use the index. So index, I think that should work. Yeah, I think that should be fine. So yeah, I'm fairly happy with this for now. I think it'll work for what we're trying to do. So yeah, the goal here is like, when somebody is trying to, they're creating a select dropdown and they want to add options. And if they select the manually enter options value, they'll be able to enter in like, published, draft, add whatever other options they want in their dropdown. Because like I was saying before, right now, it's broken. It doesn't have any values, so we want to be able to define those values for the module fields. So now that we have that, we want to be able to save this to the database, and because right now I don't have any names for these inputs, so I just want to take a look at the database to kind of see what we're working with. So our module models, this is kind of what I'm calling it for now. This is what stores all the, well, no. So that's what stores our models. What we need is the module fields. I'll probably need better names for all these. Right, so right now we have name, type, the module ID, that's just the belongs to attribute, and the options. So I think right now what we're doing is we're saving the field options under options. So I guess it'll be a sub, like a sub field under that. So we'll probably do something like, let me open up a little scratch pad. So save field options. So right now, so we have two. So the one of the fields is options type. That's what kind of we're calling it. This is how we're defining the options. It's kind of a confusing naming, because options is for the field options, and then there's the options for the actual drop down. I think it's fine for now. I think if anything, we'll go back and get a better name. But so we have options type, and then we're also going to have options option values. Should we call it that? Let's call it that, option values. So here we're going to have to update our input and set the name for it. So we'll call it options option values. And this has to be an array because we're going to have multiple items here. All right, I think that should be good. And I think what I'll do here is I'll go to our controller. So app, HTTP controllers, admin, module, fields controller. And I will probably just die and dump the data just so we can see what we're working with. So we've abstracted this get data here. So we're just gonna go ahead and die and dump this data. All right, manually enter in values. We'll just do 1, 2, 3, and go ahead and save. All right, so we'll see here, options type is set to manual, and then we see the option values here as an array. So this is what we wanna save. So what I'm having here is, because we have so many different types of fields, each field is gonna kind of have its own way of saving options for that field. So for example, you'll see here, there's like an address field, and the address has some options, and we're kind of allowing these fields to be saved with our input. So I think we need to do something similar for our select field. So we'll just do case select. Actually, no, those are formatters. We don't need a formatter. So formatters are just a way to sanitize some of our data. I don't think we really need anything right now. Yeah, we don't need anything right now. So all we need to do is just allow this field to allow certain options. So case select allowed fields is equal to options dot options type. That's our first one. Allowed fields is equal to options dot option values. Yeah, so what I'm doing here is this function, it kind of gets all the data that needs to be saved for the module. So you'll see here, it's calling this method here, and then it's saving that that data to a module field. So right now, all my models, they're all unguarded. And so because they're all unguarded, we have to make sure that we only pass data that we want to allow. Because if for some reason somebody passes in some malicious information to the request, it can be saved in our request, and we don't want that. So go ahead and break that. So I believe with any luck, if we go ahead and refresh this might be saved. Of course, it's not going to show here yet. We haven't set up the old kind of data yet, but let's check our database to see if it was saved. So I am using MongoDB for this. Oh, Tim, I'm just seeing your message about the index with the key. Yeah, I think I've experienced that before. I'm going to jot that down so we can look at that in a second. Yeah, I am using MongoDB, and the reason why is just for simplicity's sake for now. Like, what I love about MongoDB is that I don't have to set up the database structure, the database schema for all my tables. You literally just set the name of the table that you want, and you can just insert data into there. So all the data is inserted as JSON. And there's probably some drawbacks to this, but I'm just kind of thinking for my application and kind of the purposes that I'm building it for, like any performance drawbacks that I may experience are probably going to be negligible for my purposes. So yeah, if you're wondering what this is a little simple database browser for MongoDB. But anyhow, we're trying to find the field Let me see if I can just do a little search here. I'm still new to MongoDB, so I'm trying to figure out, I think, is this how you search? Find by ID. Okay, I was close. Right, because the string has to be in quotes. Found 0 records. That's weird. Module fields. Yeah, I probably need to find a better editor for this too, or a better browser, like a database browser for this. Let me see if I can just find it. What is it? AF. There it is. Right. So yeah, this is our status field, and if we look under options, all right, so our options type got saved, so that's good. Option values did not get saved. And I wonder if it's because it's an array. So I think what we'll do is we're going to take a look at this method here and die and dump it, just to see what we get with the request. So just create some sample options. All right, it's not the store method, it's the update method. So just create some sample options here, save them. Yep, so that's not coming through. So we're probably gonna have to figure out a way to allow arrays to be passed in. I wonder, what if we did something like that, where we add an asterisk? Will that work? Manual? Nope. Go ahead and die and dump the data up here just to see the raw data that we're working with. Yeah, option values, we have an array here. I want to take a look at, oh yeah, that's a custom method actually, I just remembered. So that's a custom method that we created in our app. Yep. Okay, so yeah, so the goal here was to be able to define like an array of like keys that we allow to be passed in, and filter those out. I think Laravel has a method for array only, but I wanted to be able to use this dot notation for multi-dimensional arrays, so I did create this custom method. And so what this does is it iterates through all the values, and it only allows what you pass in. So I just gotta look at this real quick. And so for each values as key value, full key, Okay, yeah, so that's our problem. So right now, as it's iterating through all the values, if it notices that, or it looks to see if the value is an array, and if it is, it does a recursive call to that method to only allow the values that you allow here. So I wonder if we can do something, if we can modify the method. So if we did something like dot star, that it would allow all the values to be passed in there. Loud full key. Yeah, let's try that. Or actually, what I'm thinking is, I'm not sure that I want that, just because what I'm thinking here is maybe it would make more sense to actually have a different model. That's not the right one. Have a different model that saves these option values. So instead of saving it as an array here, it would be like a different model. But then we have to go through the work of creating that new model and then saving it to that field. The only reason I'm kind of hesitant to implement this is going back to that idea that we'll pretty much be allowing any input in that subarray. And I'm not sure if that's I'm not sure if that's safe. So I think what I'll do is I'll probably go ahead and just try to implement this now. I'll just allow this, and then I'm just going to take a note of it. I probably need to do some more thinking about how that's set up, just so there's no security issues there. So just to revisit. Allowing asterisks in only dots. So I usually kind of have a little scratch pad while I'm working, just to kind of note down things. So I just kind of continue working on what I'm working on, and then kind of go back to some of the things that I need to address. Array only dot. All right, so I think what we're going to do is we're going to have to look through this, and if we notice that the allowed value is an asterisk, then we go ahead and allow it to be added to this result array. So for each result dot. Actually, I'm just thinking that might not work either. So do the scratch pad open again. So here's what we got. We have options. Let's do this. Options. We have options type, manual, options value is an array. This is 1 and 2. So I'm thinking Yeah, and so the allowed options would be options dot options type and options dot values dot anything. And of course, we'd be able to save the actual options dot option values. Is it option values or option values? So when it's going to be iterating over these, okay, yeah, I think that's what we can do. So we can look to see, so we have this, as it's iterating over it, it has this like a full key. So because we pass arrays to this method recursively, it we have to be able to know what the full key is, because when it comes in and it's just on, like, you know, the first one will be options, so that's going to be allowed, of course, but then when it comes in and looks for options type, our full key is going to be options type. But when it comes down to this one here, we have to check for the presence of option values asterisk. So I think what I'll do is I'm just going to dump the full key just to kind of see what we're working with. And we have to probably do that before we die and dump the data. Data there, and then we're dumping it there too, so that's fine. All right, yeah, so you'll see here, options, this is kind of where it's getting into saving the option values. And this is what the key is looking like. So what we need to do is look for the presence of an option key that has an asterisk in it. So yeah, so here's what we'll do. So here we have the full key that we're defining. But what we can do is we can look for the presence of the asterisk value. So that's going to be parent dot asterisk. So if we just go ahead and dump that, yeah. So we'll see that it's looking for option values asterisk, which is what we're looking for. Hey Joe, you're asking about Twitch. I wasn't sure. I was looking at Twitch, but I guess I haven't. All the web development live streams that I've looked were on YouTube, so I just kind of decided to go with that. But I'll definitely I'll check out Twitch and kind of see if it's better. Okay, yeah. No, it's good to know. I'm kind of new to streaming, so I'll definitely check out Twitch. Let me know like what you like more about Twitch than YouTube. Okay, that's good to know. Yeah, I'll definitely look at it. I was actually gonna stream on Twitch at first, but then I don't know. I just decided to go with YouTube, so I'll check it out. So what we'll do here, before we check for the full key, we'll check for the asterisk key, because if it's allowing all values, it's going to kind of take precedence over any other values. So we're going to go ahead and do if in array our parent dot asterisk allowed, we're going to go ahead and add that, key to our array and continue. I don't really like this. Yeah, I don't fully like how this how these if statements are structured right now, but I just want to get this working first, and then we'll go back and refactor. So yeah, so now it looks like that worked. So now we are seeing those option values come through in our data, so that's good. I do want to kind of test out something where, like, if somebody kind of maliciously adds a multi-dimensional array to our values. So maybe something like, here it is. I'm just going to add some sample stuff. Actually, we'll make this dynamic. Option values. Well, let's see what that does. Yeah, this is kind of what I was worried about. So, because the asterisk is allowing anything, if somebody puts in an array here, we get some like unexpected data. I'm gonna note it for now, and then hopefully we can address it in a future video. But for now, my concern is being able to save these option values. So we're going to get that working, and then we'll go back and we'll refactor and kind of address some of these issues. So, so yeah, so now that that's working, I believe we can remove our die dump, and it's going to get saved to a database, and that should work. One, two, save it. Gotta find that one value again. I think it's this one. Yep, there we go. So we got option 1 and option 2. One thing I'm not sure about is it's saving these as 0, 1. Is that the default way that MongoDB does that, or is that pulling that from my data? Oh no, that's the default way it does it. Okay, that's kind of what I was looking for. All right, so now that that's good, that's saved. Now what we have to do is we have to be able to pull these values into our view component here. And so the way that I usually do that is when I'm rendering the component here, I usually pass in the old data as a prop, and then it kind of fills it in when the component loads. So let me see here. I think we're doing, yeah. So what we can do is we can pass in, I usually call it like initial items or something. And we do have to JSON encode these. This would be old options.option values, and the default value will be field. And we're going to get the option for option values. And so calling that initial items. So here we have to initialize this as a prop. So props items, and I think what I'll do is just here, once it's loaded, I forget the name of the event. View lifecycle. Created. Yep. So once it's created, we'll just go ahead and console it out. Created. Console.log this.initial items. So I just kind of want to verify that those items are being passed in correctly to our view component. So let's go ahead and look here, and it looks like they are. So that's perfect. The only thing here is, I think what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to iterate through our initial items, and we're going to have to create objects out of them. And I think we'll probably have to keep them as objects too, because I think just, what's his name? Was it Tim that mentioned using the index as a key might not work? So we'll probably add like an ID, like a random ID here that we can use instead of the index. But for now, so what I usually do is like if this dot initial items for let item of this dot initial items. I never know if it's of or for, so I'm going to console.log item. Okay, it's definitely for. No. Let item in. Is it in? It's been so long since I've used it. Wow. I'm having a brain fart right now. JavaScript array for each, or for loop. In. I thought it was in. Oops, and iterations for I guess we just do a regular loop, so for that must be less than this dot initial items dot length I plus plus. And what we'll do is we'll add those to our items data here. So this dot items dot push name this dot initial items I. So let's go ahead and try that out. So that didn't work correctly. Oh, I know why. It's being parsed as a string instead of a of an object. I think if we actually look at view here, yeah. So you see here how this is a string. In order to have it parse it, we have to add this little special colon here. Okay, so now it's an array, so that's good. Okay, so my for loop was correct. It was just parsing the prop incorrectly. For let item in this dot initial items, this dot items dot push name item. Of probably. There we go. So there's an extra one here because we were starting off with an empty object here. But what we'll do is we'll go ahead and remove that. So by default there won't be anything. And then if there aren't any initial items here, we'll go ahead and add an empty one. So right now if we refresh, it won't have it. But if we go to create a new let's do like a field that doesn't have any options. You'll see here that it's empty. Ideally, I would actually like it to have an input by default. So if this dot initial items dot length is less than 1, this dot initial items dot push name something empty. So that didn't work. Well, not initial items, this dot items. So we have to check if there are any items. There we go. So if there aren't any items, it'll show an empty one, and if there are, it'll just show the ones that we added. So I want to go ahead and try just adding some more, maybe removing that one. So I'll just put that 3 new, just to make sure everything's working. I think it is. Let's go ahead and try resorting. That works. Put it to the top. That works. Okay, great. So now we have a way to define option values for our drop-down, select drop-down fields. So now what we have to do is we have to go to our form and be able to pull those in. So I think we're probably having an issue because we have to update our, we have to update our select drop-down there. So let's see here. Yeah, we have to remove this for now. It's causing our issue because this is like the old code. We used to save those options as just the options under the field. So we actually want to populate this drop down. So what we'll do is, so for each field, options as option, and then we have a blank array as a default. So instead of that, what we have to do is we have to pull the actual option property. So option values. All right, there we go. So now those options that we defined are being pulled in here. And so now anytime we go ahead and update these, it'll automatically be reflected in our form. And I think if we go ahead and save that, just to test it out, I think there's some required fields we have to fill out. Click save. Okay, now I don't remember which page we were doing the test. Yep, so it looks like it's preserving it, so that's good. All right, so that's kind of the goal. That was the goal today. I do want to address some of these things, but I do want to do it probably in a later video. So I think our next, after we address those things, our next task would be to kind of define these other options. So right now, there's only a way to manually enter in options, but we want to actually be able to pull options from another model or use a data provider. So we'll probably do that in a future video. So yeah, I think I'm gonna, that'll be it for this live video. Thank you everybody for tuning in. It's been good. I thank you for your feedback. Yeah, if you have any ideas, if you have any suggestions, feel free to message me or reply either to the Reddit post or in YouTube or something. I'll probably I also have my Twitter. I don't really post much on Twitter yet, but I'll probably be more active there in the future. If you want to follow me there, and of course, subscribe to my YouTube for any future videos. I don't know when I'll be streaming. I want to kind of set up a schedule just so you guys will know when to kind of expect that I'll go live. So once I have that information, I'll try to put it out somewhere. But all right, thanks everyone. Have a good night.